Before drive-thrus and golden arches ruled the morning rush, America woke up to the comforting smell of home-cooked breakfasts. From humble kitchens in the 1900s to cozy diners of the 1950s, breakfast was not about convenience, it was about connection. Every dish told a story, passed down through generations, reflecting regional pride, resourcefulness, and love. But as fast food chains began to rise in the 1960s, many of these timeless recipes disappeared from family tables. The sizzling sound of cornmeal frying, the sweetness of milk toast, and the warmth of baked eggs slowly faded into memory. These dishes were more than just food, they were a symbol of simpler mornings, when families gathered before the day began, sharing laughter, stories, and a plate of something made by hand. In this video, we are traveling back to rediscover 12 lost breakfast recipes Americans loved before fast food took over, from crispy hoe cakes to golden broiled grapefruit. Each one captures the taste of an era when breakfast had heart. So grab your coffee, sit back, and join us on a journey through forgotten flavors that once defined America's mornings. And if you love nostalgic food stories, remember to subscribe for more vintage recipes every week. Milk toast. Before boxed cereals and breakfast sandwiches became the norm, there was a dish that defined comfort in early American homes: milk toast. Simple, warm, and nurturing, it was often the first food given to children, the sick, or anyone needing a gentle start to the day. At its heart, milk toast was nothing more than toasted bread softened in warm milk, but to those who grew up with it, it tasted like love itself. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, milk toast was a breakfast staple across the United States. Housewives would toast thick slices of day-old bread until golden brown, then pour over scalded milk, sometimes sweetened with sugar or flavored with a touch of butter, cinnamon, or vanilla. It was inexpensive, filling, and incredibly easy to prepare, which made it ideal during hard economic times like the Great Depression. But milk toast was more than just frugality on a plate. It represented the quiet rhythm of early mornings before the world hurried itself awake. Parents often served it to children before school or to grandparents resting by the window, creating a tradition that felt timeless and tender. As fast food culture rose in the mid-20th century, milk toast slowly vanished from breakfast tables, dismissed as old-fashioned and bland. Yet for those who remember it, that humble bowl of warm milk and toast still carries the flavor of nostalgia, a reminder of an era when breakfast was meant to comfort, not rush. So tell me, have you ever heard of milk toast before today? Or maybe someone in your family still makes it. Share your memories in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe to explore more forgotten American breakfasts from a slower, sweeter time. Popcorn cereal. Before cornflakes ever appeared on grocery store shelves, Americans were already eating something strikingly similar: popcorn cereal. Yes, you heard that right. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, families across rural America began their mornings with a bowl of popped corn drenched in warm milk, often sprinkled with sugar or honey. It was crunchy, slightly sweet, and surprisingly satisfying, the rustic ancestor of modern breakfast cereals. Popcorn cereal came from practicality. Corn was cheap, plentiful, and easy to pop over a wood stove. Instead of wasting leftovers, people repurposed them into breakfast. They would fill a bowl with freshly popped kernels, pour in milk, and sweeten it with molasses or maple syrup. Some even added a pinch of salt for balance, giving it that perfect sweet-salty bite. For farm families, this quick meal was a way to stretch resources without sacrificing comfort. As cereal companies like Kellogg's and Post rose to dominance in the early 20th century, homemade popcorn cereal began to disappear. The convenience of packaged flakes and the promise of modern living pushed it aside, transforming breakfast from a homemade ritual into a mass-produced habit. Yet, popcorn cereal still holds a certain charm, a crunchy whisper from America's pioneering days, when innovation came from the heart of the kitchen, not a factory line. It reminds us that breakfast used to be creative, resourceful, and deeply personal. If you ever want to taste history, try making a bowl yourself: warm milk, a drizzle of honey, and fresh popcorn. Simple, nostalgic, and honest. Have you ever imagined popcorn as breakfast before? Let me know in the comments, and remember to subscribe for more rediscovered American breakfasts that time almost forgot. Cream chip beef on toast. Before instant breakfasts and frozen waffles filled grocery aisles, many Americans began their day with a savory classic known as cream chip beef on toast. This humble dish, sometimes called SOS in military slang, was born out of necessity but became a beloved comfort food across the country. Its story began in the early 20th century, when dried, salted beef was a pantry essential. Housewives and army cooks alike would slice the beef thin, sizzle it in butter, and fold it into a creamy white sauce made with milk and flour. The mixture was then poured generously over crisp toast or biscuits, creating a rich and filling breakfast that fueled long workdays and early mornings. During World War II, soldiers ate it often in military mess halls. While some jokingly complained about the repetition, many came to love its hearty simplicity. When they returned home, they brought the recipe with them, and soon, cream chip beef on toast became a household staple across post-war America. Its salty, savory flavor paired perfectly with black coffee, and its creamy texture made it pure comfort on a plate. But as fast food breakfasts emerged, dishes like this slowly disappeared. The idea of whisking a roux or slicing dried beef seemed outdated in a world of drive-thrus and instant meals. Today, this forgotten classic stands as a reminder of a time when breakfast was both practical and personal, when every bite carried a story of resilience and resourcefulness. Have you ever tasted this old-fashioned favorite or heard stories of it from your grandparents? Share your thoughts below, and if you love rediscovering recipes that once defined America's mornings, make sure to subscribe for more timeless breakfast memories. Shirred eggs. Before omelets flipped in diners and breakfast sandwiches hit drive-through windows, elegant mornings began with shirred eggs. This forgotten dish was once a hallmark of early 1900s breakfast tables, found in both refined hotel dining rooms and humble family kitchens. It was simple yet sophisticated, eggs baked gently in cream and butter until the whites were set and the yolks gleamed like golden suns. The term shirred comes from the type of flat-bottomed dish, or gshira, in which the eggs were cooked. Housewives and chefs alike would butter the dish, crack in a fresh egg, add a splash of cream, sprinkle a pinch of salt and pepper, and bake it slowly until just tender. The result was a creamy, custard-like egg with a delicate flavor that tasted luxurious despite its simplicity. During the late Victorian and Edwardian eras, shirred eggs symbolized refinement. They appeared on breakfast menus beside broiled tomatoes, toast, and tea, an image of quiet, graceful mornings before industrialization changed the rhythm of daily life. Even in the 1920s and 30s, they remained a favorite for weekend breakfasts or special occasions. But as the pace of life quickened, people turned to faster meals. Standing over an oven to bake eggs seemed indulgent in an age obsessed with convenience. The art of shirring faded, replaced by instant mixes and scrambled shortcuts. Yet, for those who have tasted it, shirred eggs offer a gentle reminder that breakfast once celebrated patience and presence. The dish invites you to slow down, breathe, and savor simplicity, something modern mornings rarely allow. Would you ever try bringing back shirred eggs in your kitchen? Share your thoughts below, and if you cherish these lost traditions of American cooking, remember to subscribe for more stories from breakfast's forgotten past. Hoe cakes. Before pancakes became a breakfast standard, America had hoe cakes, the rustic, golden cornmeal griddle cakes that once fueled farmers, pioneers, and working families across the early colonies. These humble cakes were born from necessity, yet they became a defining food of early American mornings, especially in the South. The name hoe cake comes from a clever bit of frontier ingenuity. Enslaved Africans and poor settlers often cooked them on the flat blade of a hoe held over an open fire, a simple method that gave the cakes a smoky flavor and crisp edge. Made with cornmeal, water, a touch of salt, and sometimes bacon grease, hoe cakes were as honest as food could be, no frills, no waste, just sustenance. By the 1800s, hoe cakes had spread from plantation kitchens to pioneer cabins and eventually to American breakfast tables everywhere. People began dressing them up with butter, honey, or sorghum syrup, transforming them from plain survival food into a comforting morning staple. They paired perfectly with coffee or eggs and were often served to guests as a symbol of hospitality. As wheat flour grew more accessible and refined pancakes became fashionable, hoe cakes slowly slipped into memory. Fast food chains sealed their fate, replacing them with instant mixes and syrup-covered stacks that lacked their earthy soul. Still, the legacy of hoe cakes endures, a reminder of resilience, creativity, and the shared history of those who made the most of what they had. Each bite tells the story of America's roots, hard work, warmth, and survival cooked right into the griddle. Have you ever tasted a real hoe cake, the kind cooked with care and cornmeal? Let me know in the comments, and if you love rediscovering recipes from America's early kitchens, do not forget to subscribe for more forgotten classics. Scrapple. Long before breakfast burritos and drive-through platters, mornings in Pennsylvania and Delaware began with the sizzling sound of scrapple frying in a cast-iron skillet. This dish, rooted in the traditions of early German settlers known as the Pennsylvania Dutch, was a masterclass in thrift and flavor, a way to ensure that nothing from the hog went to waste. Scrapple was born from the resourceful spirit of colonial America. After butchering a pig, every usable scrap of meat was boiled, finely minced, and mixed with cornmeal and spices such as sage and black pepper. The mixture was then poured into a loaf pan and chilled until firm. Sliced thick and fried to a golden crust, it developed a crispy exterior with a tender, savory center, rich, hearty, and deeply satisfying. For generations, scrapple was more than breakfast, it was a cultural tradition. Families gathered around wood stoves on cold mornings, the smell of pork and cornmeal filling the air. Often served with eggs or drizzled with maple syrup, it represented comfort, community, and pride in making something meaningful from humble ingredients. But as the world shifted toward convenience foods, scrapple's reputation suffered. Its name sounded unappealing to modern ears, and its old-world process seemed slow in the age of microwaves. Yet those who grew up with it still swear by its flavor, a true taste of home. Today, scrapple stands as a tribute to early American ingenuity and the respect our ancestors had for food. It reminds us that breakfast once meant using everything with care, not wasting anything at all. Have you ever seen scrapple on a menu or tried making it yourself? Tell me in the comments, and for more stories behind America's lost breakfasts, make sure to subscribe and keep the tradition alive. Fried cornmeal mush. Before the convenience of boxed cereals and frozen waffles, many American families began their mornings with fried cornmeal mush, a simple, hearty dish that stretched ingredients during hard times. It was especially beloved during the Great Depression, when every grain counted, and nothing went to waste. Cornmeal mush began as a basic porridge made from cornmeal, water, and a pinch of salt. Families would cook it slowly until thick and creamy, then pour it into a pan to cool overnight. By morning, it was firm enough to slice, fry in butter or bacon grease, and serve hot with maple syrup or gravy. The result was crisp on the outside, soft on the inside, a comforting breakfast that filled hungry stomachs when money was scarce. This dish carried a quiet kind of dignity. It reflected the resilience of families who could turn the simplest ingredients into something delicious. In farmhouses, city apartments, and boarding houses alike, fried cornmeal mush was a symbol of endurance, a meal that said, "We will make do." By the 1950s, as America's economy grew and convenience foods took over, cornmeal mush slipped into obscurity. Instant oatmeal and pre-packaged breakfast items replaced it, leaving this Depression-era staple nearly forgotten. Yet, those who remember it often speak of its warmth, the sound of butter sizzling in the pan, the golden crust forming, and the smell that filled the kitchen. It was food that fed both body and soul. If you have never tried it, maybe it is time to bring this humble favorite back to your table. Simple, honest, and rich in history, fried cornmeal mush is breakfast with heart. Have you ever heard of this dish before today? Let me know below, and do not forget to subscribe for more forgotten American breakfasts worth remembering. Egg in a hole. Before fast food chains redefined breakfast with sandwiches and wraps, there was a playful, heartwarming dish that graced countless American tables: egg in a hole. Known by many names like toad in a hole, egg in a basket, or one-eyed toast, this simple creation brought joy to both children and adults alike. The recipe was beautifully straightforward: take a slice of bread, cut a hole in the center, place it on a buttered skillet, and crack an egg right into the middle. As it sizzled, the egg cooked perfectly inside its toasted frame, creating a blend of crunch and creaminess that no diner menu could beat. The cut-out circle of bread was often toasted alongside a little bonus treat known as the lid. Egg in a hole became especially popular during the Great Depression and World War II, when families had to make magic with what they had. Bread and eggs were inexpensive and filling, and this clever breakfast turned simplicity into comfort. Parents made it for their kids before school, soldiers remembered it fondly when far from home. It was a meal that felt personal, quick, nourishing, and made with love. As fast breakfasts became commercialized, the charm of egg in a hole began to fade. Yet, it remains one of those rare recipes that bridge generations, a dish that sparks nostalgia the moment you see that egg shining through the toast. So the next time you make breakfast, skip the drive-thru and try this timeless favorite. It takes minutes, but the feeling it gives, that warm reminder of family mornings long gone, lasts much longer. Do you remember eating egg in a hole as a kid? Share your memories in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more heartwarming stories from America's forgotten breakfasts. Eggs goldenrod. Before instant eggs and breakfast burritos became standard, America once celebrated mornings with a dish as elegant as its name, eggs goldenrod. This forgotten beauty from the early 1900s turned the humble egg into something refined, colorful, and deeply comforting. The process was simple, yet it felt like a small act of art. Hard-boiled eggs were chopped, and their whites were folded into a velvety white sauce made from butter, flour, and milk. The sauce was seasoned lightly, poured over crisp toast, and finally topped with grated egg yolks that sprinkled across the surface like golden sunshine, hence the name, Egg's Goldenrod. This dish was a favorite in both home kitchens and domestic science classes, teaching young homemakers elegance through simplicity. It was especially popular in the 1920s through the 1940s, served for Sunday breakfasts, Easter mornings, or Mother's Day brunches. Each serving felt gentle and wholesome, soft textures, delicate flavors, and a presentation that brightened the table. But as time moved forward, recipes that required patience and preparation began to vanish. By the late 20th century, Egg's Goldenrod had quietly disappeared from most cookbooks, replaced by microwavable convenience. Still, for those who remember it, this dish symbolizes the beauty of care in cooking, when even breakfast felt like an expression of love. The golden yolk atop the creamy whites was more than decoration, it represented warmth, grace, and gratitude for the morning itself. If you have never tried it, bring this one back to your kitchen. It is simple, stunning, and steeped in history. Have you ever seen or tasted Egg's Goldenrod before? Share your thoughts below, and if you love discovering America's lost recipes that once defined our mornings, do not forget to subscribe for more nostalgic food stories. Codfish cakes with eggs. Long before bacon dominated the breakfast plate, many coastal Americans began their mornings with codfish cakes and eggs. This hearty dish, popular from the late 1800s through the 1940s, reflected a time when salt-preserved fish was a kitchen essential, not just a regional specialty. It was simple, nourishing, and carried the taste of the Atlantic right to the breakfast table. The dish began with salted cod, a pantry staple that could last for months without spoiling. Cooks soaked the fish overnight to remove the excess salt, then flaked it into mashed potatoes, mixed it with eggs, butter, and a hint of onion or parsley. The mixture was shaped into patties and pan-fried until golden and crisp on the outside, soft and savory within. Often, it was served beside fried or poached eggs, creating a meal that was both filling and flavorful. For generations of New Englanders and working-class families, codfish cakes with eggs symbolized practicality and pride. Fishermen's wives cooked it for breakfast before their husbands went out to sea, and boarding houses across the East Coast served it as a reliable, protein-packed morning meal. However, as refrigeration improved and fresh meats became cheaper, salt cod slowly vanished from everyday kitchens. By the mid-20th century, dishes like codfish cakes began fading from memory, remembered only by those who grew up near the coast. Yet, its legacy remains, a reminder of the era when breakfast was about resourcefulness and flavor born from necessity. Each bite told a story of survival, simplicity, and the deep connection between food and place. Have you ever tried a salt cod dish before? Tell me in the comments, and if you love exploring these lost breakfasts from America's past, make sure to subscribe for more forgotten classics that deserve a comeback. Breakfast banana fritters. Before donuts and drive-thrus defined morning indulgence, there was a sweet and homey treat that delighted Americans from the 1920s through the 1950s, breakfast banana fritters. Crispy, golden, and dusted with sugar, they were a morning luxury that tasted like sunshine and simplicity. The recipe was born during the early 20th century, when bananas became widely available and affordable across the United States. Housewives looking for creative ways to use ripe fruit turned to fritters, a dish inspired by both Southern cooking and Caribbean influence. They would slice bananas, dip them in a light batter of flour, eggs, and milk, then fry them until beautifully golden and aromatic. Some recipes called for a drizzle of honey or a dusting of powdered sugar, while others served them with syrup or cinnamon butter. Breakfast banana fritters quickly became a family favorite, especially on weekends or holidays. Children loved their sweetness, adults loved their simplicity. They captured the joy of homemade comfort, warm, fragrant, and made with love from the ingredients already on hand. But as frozen pastries and fast food breakfasts appeared, the ritual of frying banana fritters disappeared from most kitchens. What once filled homes with the scent of caramelized fruit and sizzling batter was replaced by toasters and microwaves. Yet, this forgotten dish still holds the power to bring nostalgia to life. Just one bite, crisp on the outside, tender inside, can transport you back to a time when breakfast meant gathering, not rushing. So, if you want to taste a piece of America's sweet past, try frying up a batch of breakfast banana fritters one morning. Then tell me how it went in the comments, and if stories like these warm your heart, make sure to subscribe for more lost breakfasts that once made mornings magical.